Hello, my dojo divas. Grab your fluffiest blanket, maybe some hot cocoa, because today we are diving into the D&D lore behind the original Ice Queen, the Frostmaiden, the CEO of Frostbite, the patron saint of seasonal depression herself, AURIL. I am dressed thematically for the occasion. I made this necklace for AURIL and her Ice Queen aesthetic. Heads up if you have not played the 𝕻𝖚 the Frostmaiden campaign. This may or may not be spoilery, depends on how blindly you want to go into it, but just a disclaimer. Welcome back to Beauty and the Beholder. I'm Kiki and I am your lipstick-loving lore historian. Every week we hang out, we put on some makeup, and we talk about D&D lore. So if you love to gossip about fictional fantasy characters, I'm your girl. Let's get into it. So who even is Miss AURIL? Like, what is her deal? Who is she? AURIL is the evil goddess of cold and winter in the Faerûn realms. She is a lesser deity and considered to be pretty neutral evil. Her domains are nature and tempest. She's got some of the baddest nicknames, okay? She goes by the Frostmaiden, the cold goddess, the Queen of Frost, Lady Frost Kiss, Ice Dawn, the Brittle Maiden, Sovereign of Summer's Loss. Now that one is pretty poetic, you know. General of Winter's War, and the Queen of Frozen Tears. Chances are if it's dramatic and it involves ice, it's probably one of her nicknames. She's mostly worshipped out of fear rather than adoration, as a means to appease this goddess in order to fend off harsh, brutal winters. A lot of her followers tend to be trappers, Northlanders, miners, typically people who have to live and endure this brutal cold. And even a few clans of frost giants are led by shamans in her service. AURIL was part of the Gods of Fury, which includes gods like Talos, the storm god, 𝕻𝖚, the Queen, the evil crazy goddess of the sea, and 𝕻𝖚, the beast lord. They had quite the unhinged clique. Just, you know, troublemakers. They love to get up to no good. Apparently during the spell plague, when Mr. died and magic kind of fell apart, AURIL decided to glow up. She was like, I'm gonna use this opportunity to work on myself. The spell plague was COVID for her. Some of the gods were like, I can't wait to go back to the real world. Some of them were like, this is my time to transform, okay? I was playing Animal Crossing the whole time. During the spell plague, she siphoned the portfolios of some other deities that were kind of related to the cold. Ulushu, which was a sleeping Arctic god, 𝕻𝖓, the elven goddess of air, and even Talos. She was able to get a little kick out of him. Over the editions, I think she was first introduced in 1981 in a Dungeons and Dragons magazine. This is a lesser deity, but over time, throughout the editions, she has gained more power. She's really come into being this powerful, evil, badass goddess worthy of her own themed campaign, which I think is very cool. We support women's wrongs here. As for her realm, in the Great Wheel cosmology, she had a frigid divine realm called Winter's Hall in Pandesmos, the top layer of Pandemonium. Fun fact, by the way, in myth, apparently Loki the trickster, there was some crossover between real world deities and Forgotten Realms deities. Apparently Loki would like go and hang out with AURIL and crash in the Winter's Hall and just like hang out. I feel like AURIL would 100% be supportive of like whatever shenanigans Loki was up to. After the spell plague is when her realm changed to the astral sea. Now, she lived in the deep wilds, which a couple of the other nature-related deities live in, but she lived specifically within the land under eternal ice. No matter what edition, she just finds the coldest, most uninhabitable place and is like, yes, this is my dream home. Now, what is AURIL's personality like? You could say she's cold-hearted. She is described as a fickle, vain, and evil creature whose cold divine heart remains untouched by any hint of true love, noble feeling, or honor. Basically, a Regina George. Arrogant, self-obsessed, vain. We love to see it. AURIL is a big fan of beauty. She's a beauty lover, especially the fragile, fleeting, ephemeral beauty of life. She'll actually take things and freeze them Like, she'll see a flower and she's like, gorgeous, 10 out of 10, freezes it and keeps it for herself. I guess like her version of scrapbooking, you know? What's the big deal? The big deal is that she likes to do that to living things too, so there's that. And also she doesn't like to share these beautiful things with anybody else. She likes to keep them for herself, her own viewing pleasure, so that's not so nice either. Auryl's just very arrogant. She just wants to cover the world in snow, okay? She's pretty emotionally barren, and it's said that she can't feel love or honor or mercy. She especially feels envy, spite, and cruel glee, very similar to Umberlee. One source puts it bluntly by saying, her eternal beauty is cold and deadly, the flower of womanhood preserved forever in a slab of Arctic ice, with sensibilities to match the ice. What it is. Oh my god. But I guess it's the truth. Basically, if you're not useful to her or she doesn't see your value, you kind of mean nothing to her. Which, like, is the same as any corporation. So, like, evil does what evil does. She also just loves a good torture session, you know? The true sadist at heart and loves to play and toy with her victims. Apparently she'll play these psychological games on people where she'll trap them in a blizzard and then torture them by making them think they're suddenly back home by a fireplace in the warmth and all cozy, right? But then bam, she immediately snatches that away and then makes them succumb to death by freezing. She is really something else. Oh my god. She is known to be capricious and unpredictable, as changeable as the winter wind. Her appearance, she knows how to work a theme, okay? White party, she's there. She takes on a couple different forms, and her most common one is that of the Frostmaiden. She's described as a lithe, attractive woman. Her skin with like a glacier blue color, long, flowing, gorgeous white hair, and she typically wears a fur-trimmed fit. She is beautiful in the most terrifying way. She's basically like an ice sculpture, right? But can kill you at any moment. And like just for fun too. Another form that she takes is the Ice Dawn. This is kind of like an impassive ice specter. She glides through the air silently like a ghost made out of frost. This form wears an ornate crown and a suit of armor made out of, guess what? Ice. Ice Dawn is described as Auryl's dignified frozen monarch. Cold, distant, untouchable, right? Now, in 𝕻𝖚 the Frostmaiden, potential spoilers, just putting it out there, she can appear in 3 successive forms. First is the cold crone. This is like a 7-foot tall, hunched female figure who has the head of a snowy owl and a pair of like curled ram hooves on her head. She has cloven hooves for her feet and long black stiletto talons, and her body is covered in shaggy like gray-white wolf fur. So she's got expensive taste. The cold crone is like when she's feeling feral, okay? After the cold crone is the brittle maiden, also called Lady Ice Kiss. This is closer to like Auryl's classic humanoid image, but turn it up like a couple feet. She's now 11 feet tall, baby. She's wearing the tallest stilettos you can fathom. This woman is made entirely of ice and frost, and a thin cloak of mists tend to surround her in this form. Her eyes burn with like a cold blue light, and when she moves you can hear her body constantly crackling or snapping because it's literally ice. Either shards are growing out of her or they're breaking off. It's like, are you okay, girl? You don't want to get too close because she might impale you, you know? Which is why the form is called the brittle maiden. Literally, she's brittle. And then finally, her third form is the winter's womb, also known as the Queen of Frozen Tears by some of her followers. It's literally a magical floating ice crystal. She said, I'm gonna be a diamond, okay, and no one can stop me. She heard Diamonds by Rihanna and said, I want to be that. So yeah, she's just like a 3-foot diameter diamond of ice. And she's just like hovering, you know, chilling, doing her thing, radiating intense cold in every direction, you know, as you do. She can also manifest as icy breath, accompanied by a cold, ruthless chuckling, as well as a blue-white radiance that leaves a thin line of frost. She can also appear as a blank-eyed face of frost with long white hair and completely blank eyes. And just like radiating intense cold, right? She's just, her aura, it's just blue, it's white, it's cold, it's frosty, icy. As for her symbols and iconography, her symbol is a classic. It's a 6-pointed snowflake. Simple, elegant, to the point. You know it's her. Her graphic designer understood the assignment, okay? Her colors are blue and white, and her clerics often tend to wear that snowflake symbol in white or pale blue. You may also find it carved onto altars in the north or on pendants of her followers. Monsters and animals that are associated with her are water elementals, ice elementals, ice para elementals, sometimes undead, winter wolves, frost giants, and any other Arctic creatures, which by the way is like a specific tenet of her church. You can't harm any Arctic creatures specifically, okay? Do not be chasing down those penguins. Look, I know they're part of a highly organized criminal organization, but we can't just fight them. Okay, as for Auril's relationships, she seems like she would be super solitary, right? She's the type of girl who comes off as standoffish in the beginning, but then you find out she actually likes to hang out. Anyway, she's got a lot of enemies, but she's got some working relationships with some of the other deities that I think are worth exploring. She does love drama, to be honest. Okay, so her main clique, right? Her main clique was the gods of fury, which were Talos, the Storm Lord, Malar, the Beast Lord, and Umberlee, the bitch queen, the evil sea goddess. Yes! That was her clique. They were all forces to be reckoned with, literally. They were all the dangerous forces of nature, right? They love to inspire fear and basically just fuck shit up. Within these 4 buddies, Talos was kind of the big boss. He was the arrogant leader out of the 4 of them. As we discussed in the Umberlee video, he liked to encroach upon other people's territories and portfolios. Not cool. Talos tried to do the same thing that he did to Umberlee, where he tried to take her portfolio, take her followers, take her power, and Auril was like, no girl, you tried it, but no girl. She would distance herself. Talos would start showing up to the function. There's a blizzard, there's a storm, and Talos would be like, hey, it's all me, you know? And Auril would just be like, this was a 50-50 cooperation. Like, you strike down the island, I cause an avalanche. We're a partnership here. And he just wasn't getting that. Then the spell plague rolls around. Auril takes part of Talos's portfolio during this time. They're just stepping on each other's toes. Auril took over storms for a little bit, expanding her horizons, learning new things. This was her latest endeavor. Don't think that lasted long. But either way, their relationship has kind of been like topsy-turvy. Frenemies, if you will. Like a toxic boss, you know, I used to have a toxic boss like this that would love you, but then be your biggest hater. You know what I mean? Now, as for Malar and Auril, oil and water, they did not get along. I mean, I can see why Malar is annoying, so I understand Auril on this, but Malar was just too fast-paced for Auril. He was all about the wild hunt. They were just on different wavelengths, you know? Malar would see Auril as encroaching on her territory when the winter would come. It just never worked out. Now, Umberlee and Auril, baby. Umberlee and Auril, they were girlfriends. Oh, sorry, that was really exciting to say. But I didn't mean it in like a romantic way. When you're working in a male-dominated field, like destruction of the world, it's hard to find other female friends. So they really had a nice thing going. I like to believe that they would drink wine and talk shit about Talos and Malar, but what ended up happening was their territories were basically encroaching on one another. Auril would start to freeze bodies of water in the ocean, and Umberlee was like, hold on, like, this is my side of the room, you know? Rightfully so, Umberlee was pissed about it. She was like, why? Eventually, like, got fed up by it, and she was like, you know what, screw this. And decided to ally with Talos and Malar to gang up on Auril. Pretty shitty if you ask me. I love you, girl, but that was not cool. Apparently, that situation is what ended up driving Auril to start the everlasting rime. That is a huge betrayal. I get her on that, you know? Like, they were BFFs. Enemies now, that sucks. Way to ruin girls' night. Now, outside of her inner circle, the people she can rely on the most are the other gods of fury. She has plenty of other enemies. Shantae, the earth goddess, does not vibe with her because they literally want complete opposite things. I'm sorry, what were you talking about? Hi, it's me, the abominable snowman. I just had to pop the wig on. The eyeballs. So yeah, Sune was not a big fan of Auril because she was kind of like destroying everything beautiful. 𝕻𝖗𝖈, one of the patron deities of the 𝕻𝖗𝖑 barbarian tribes, he was known as like the battle father, battle daddy. He also had issues with Auril because apparently the Elk tribe, one of his barbarian tribes, ended up abandoning him to go follow her. And also clashed with 𝕻𝖆 the a minor elven god of cold. There was also this rumor of Auril being this archfey, the queen of air and darkness, but this was confirmed by Edward Greenwood to be kind of like a rumor that one of the archfey was perpetuating to make her seem as if she was Auril. I forgot the reason why. If anybody knows, feel free to comment it. But basically she was catfishing people and saying she was Auril when she really wasn't. A little shady. A little suspicious. Now, did Auril have any lovers, flings? Apparently, yes. She had an entanglement with Thrym, the giant god of ice. Basically like the chief deity of frost giants. And like originally from Norse mythology. But they had a thing going on because, you know, they had a lot in common. They even had a child together. An Empyrean daughter named 𝕻𝖗𝖈. 𝕻𝖗𝖈 was like a celestial titan-like being. Basically like a demigod giant. Frostmaiden, more like Frost Mama. I would love to see a sitcom of Auril settling down like Neverwinter or something and raising her daughter. I think that'd be so hilarious. Now, as for the Church of Auril, a lot of people worship her out of fear and appeasement. Like, please, Frostmaiden, don't kill me. Thank you. Here you go. Here's the human sacrifice. Thank you so much. Her dogma calls for her followers to cover all the lands with ice, quench fire wherever it is found, let in the winds and the cold, cut down windbreaks, and chop holes in walls and roofs that my breath may come in. She's just gonna breathe into your house. Basically make the world a colder place. Be the cold you wish to see in the world. If you're a follower of Auril and you walk into a home and somebody's enjoying a warm fire, douse that fire. Open all the windows. Just mess up their day. Work darkness to hide the cursed sun, so that the 𝕻𝖗𝖈 might slay all others at will. Make all Faerûn fear me. Queen behavior. She just wants everybody to live in terror of her.
Are you recording?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, it's okay.
Retinol? How do I apply that?
Put on your moisturizer first.
Mm-hmm.
And then take a little piece of amount and put it just like just put it over. Auril's priestesses tend to be pretty nomadic. They roam Faerûn, and especially live in the north and pretty much anywhere that it's cold. Like many female deities of the Forgotten Realms, most of her priestesses are women, but there are definitely a few males in their ranks. Her specialty priests are called ice priestesses and ice priests. Since they're pretty nomadic, they don't have a rigid structure of the church either. Some of their titles for the clergy are postulant, votre, icewind, storm sister and storm brother, frost touch, lady cold, lord cold, lady or lord of deep winter, lady or lord of cold circle, and the high hand of ice. A lot of Auril's priestesses make their money by delivering medicine, messages, supplies, and the like to the Northlands during the winter. They're relied upon to brave the cold and get what's needed done. Auril's dogma is cover all the lands with ice, quench fire wherever it is found, let in the winds and the cold, cut down windbreaks and chop holes in the walls and roofs that my breath may come in, she said. Darknesses to hide the cursed sun, so that the 𝕻𝖗𝖈 may slay. Take the life of an Arctic creature only in great need, but slay all others at will. Make all Faerûn fear me. Pretty straightforward. She gets right to the point. Slay all others at will, except for the penguins, the polar bears. Leave them alone. Her clergy are expected to revere her and sing her praises in the cold winter weather. For some rituals and rites, these is called the cleansing. During the cold months, the priest was forcing somebody to seek her cold cleansing. The person must say a prayer while holding a chunk of ice larger than their hand, and they must say the prayer for as long as the ice melts. Once the ice melts, they're done. It also has to be done outdoors and at night. She's like, you know what? If you're asking for my services, you gotta pay the price. They're also expected to slay at least one creature using cold damage during each winter. An important time of year for the Church of Auril is Midwinter Night. Midwinter Night is like a festival of ice dancing. It lasts the whole night. It's quite the rager. And this is like Auril's time. She's like, bring all your friends, invite everybody, make everybody see that like we're a good time. You know, I want people to think that we're like fun. Now, in order to become a part of Auril's clergy, you got to go through the hazing. This ceremony is called the embracing. This is kind of the most like sacred ritual for Aurelians. The embracing consists of running through a blizzard all night long, wearing only boots. They can't be thigh highs though. That's the rule. You can only wear boots, but you know what? They can be thigh highs. So take your pick. They just wear like a little thin shift moment, and then they paint their bodies with symbols of Auril. If you're undergoing this ritual, you either die from the cold or Auril accepts you finally and she decides to rescue you from the cold. Prayer for clergy members usually looks like lying out in the snow all night in prayer. During the hotter months, Aurilites will submerge their head in cold water, typically by like a stream or something. When doing this, Auril will send them visions or give them messages through water communication. Some other enthusiastically celebrated rituals are the coming storm and the last storm. These are howling ice storms called up by the clergy working all together. This is where everybody gets together and everybody's like, okay, let's all put all our efforts together, bring out the cold magic, and bring out the dancing blizzards. Group summon ice storms, basically. And then they wreck a town. It's quite destructive and kind of messed up. But that's their religion. It usually happens at the start or end of winter. As for Auril's temples, her biggest one is probably the House of Auril's Breath in Glister, which is north of the Moon Sea. Glister is located right here, north of the Moon Sea. It's one of the biggest temples to Auril. They usually hold nightly fire and ice rituals, and they do weather magic and stuff. It's also known as the Cold House or the Cold Comfort Towers to non-worshippers. She has temples all over though. Places like Byzantor, Calant, Ashkel, Flan, Tasseldale, and Zental Keep. Some of the other notable temples are Icedawn's House, south of Nashkel, the Towers of Fury in Kalimport, the Winter Palace in Luskan. That sounds fabulous. And the Ice Temple, located between Andorra and the Wandering Village in Icewind Dale. The Towers of Fury in Kalimport is actually a complex in Kalimshan that's like dedicated to the gods of fury. As for priestly vestments of the Church of Auril, what did her followers and clergy wear? We're dying to know. Break down the outfit. Okay, drop the links. Priests of Auril typically wear ice white ceremonial robes with blue piping. The robes are specifically cinched at the waist. Okay, they are snatched. They are serving with a wide silver belt, typically used to hold a ceremonial ice axe. They often wear a silver circlet. As for affiliated orders of Auril, she doesn't have any like military or knightly orders. She like just doesn't see the need for that. She's like, I can just send a blizzard, you know? The Cult of Frost is a group whose whole purpose is to get the Ring of Winter. The Ring of Winter was this golden, featureless band. It was a powerful magical ring, known by the Frost Giants as the ice that never melts. Now, let's talk character inspiration. So, for classes, definitely a nature or tempest domain cleric. Duh. For sorcerer, you could totally go Divine Soul or a draconic bloodline sorcerer with the white dragon ancestry. That way you have that ice magic in your blood, you know? That would be so cool. Warlock, I could totally see an archfey patron, and I could see you kind of playing with that rumor of AURIL being the archfey goddess. I could see that going somewhere kind of fun. Barbarian, Path of the Storm Herald, tundra environment. Definitely a ranger would fit well here too. I'm picturing kind of like in Avatar: The Last Airbender, water tribe, like Katara vibes. It's giving Katara. I am thinking like a Beastmaster or a Gloomstalker who's used to prowling in the cold wilderness. That would actually be super cool. Oh, and Bard, College of Whispers. There's actually a song dedicated to AURIL called Rime of the Frostmaiden. I'm not gonna sing it for you, but a College of Whispers type bard who loves to tell spooky, scary stories of the Frostmaiden. For some roleplay inspiration, I could totally see you playing with the fear aspect of her as a goddess. Maybe you, really want to instill that fear in others and worship your goddess in that way, or B, perhaps you are afraid of her. You're a god-fearing person, and maybe you had an encounter where you lost your family to a horrible winter storm. It caused a devastating change in your lifestyle. Now you kind of seek to appease AURIL in everything you do, and that's been a weight that you have been carrying. I could also totally see just like playing into the duty aspect. Maybe you just need to revere AURIL. Maybe you just need to pay your respects to her because of the work that you do. It's no more than that until maybe she becomes your patron somehow. And this relationship that you thought was just to appease this entity, now it's a lot more personal than you wanted it to be. AURIL is such a baddie. Thank you all for recommending her. I love the deities in the Forgotten Realms that are just crazy. Like, they're just wild and want to see the world burn. Like, that's just so entertaining to me. I love it. Thanks, 𝕻𝖗𝖈𝖏. Comment down below what other D&D lore topics you would like to see, or really anything else we can talk about. I definitely want to talk about other topics, like other games. I went to a couple Ren fairs that I want to make a video on, and I just don't have enough time in the day, y'all. Which leads me to my question: do you edit YouTube videos? If you are a YouTube video editor or know of anybody who is and likes D&D lore, please feel free to email me. My contact is in the description box. And yeah, thank y'all so much. I had such a great time hanging out with you today. I hope you stay icy. I hope you slay your day. Ciao.